What's up, pig? What do you need help with? Tell me your woes. Quickly. So I may begin criticizing movies. Why does pig need help? Oh, well then you need to sleep. I found the solution. Fairly easily. I so hate to tell you this, but sleep is necessary. I like it. Some people don't like it. I love sleep. But, you know, that's me. That's Cahill. And that's Sleepy Boy Supreme over here. I mean, the problem here is, Pig, that part of what I did to help narrow down this category just a little bit, is put theatrically released films on here. And technically Thief and the Cobbler is fucking not theatrical release. It would go beyond that, honestly. Thief and the Cobbler would end up being like not God plus tier, given the mastery involved in making it. So let's be clear, I'm not about to disrespect Thief and the Cobbler, but I don't know if it'd be so hard to rank for so many reasons. So here's the thing, it's just not on the it's just not on the thing. Oh, damn it. Give me a second. Yes. Okay. That I'm adding some last minute rows, because I realized, I was like, wait a minute. That one. I was messing around with how this tier list maker works before. Oh no, Pig. Not to be rude, but not even close. Because I didn't see it nearly early enough. like, I mean, I have Williamson's book right here on my desk, but I did not see his cartoons nearly, I didn't see his work, let alone his independent work, nearly early enough for me to be like, major inspiration right here. So I'm sorry. But I hope everyone's doing well. I hope y'all have had a good day. My day's been okay. You know, it's been alright. Work, what have you. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Here's the thing, right? I'll start doing things. Okay? I'll start thinking about like recent events or daily happenings, and I'm like, man, am I going to be in the mood to talk about, like, you know, to rank animated films on stream tonight? But the reality is that I think about one of these films for more than 2 seconds. If I start talking to myself in my head about any one of these films, I end up having like a 5-minute plus conversation. And to be honest with you, I'm not even planning to talk about most of these films for more than 5 minutes. So I think we'll be fine. I honestly think we'll be fine. What was I thinking of? Let's put stream over here, and then bam, bam. There it is. There it is. We got, how about, actually, 1 second. Actually, no, I can't even do that. Okay, let me try to finagle it a bit. Give me a second. Let's see. Shrink it down a bit, just so we can catch all the tiers in one row. Oh, that's hard. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Amazing. I won't spoil it. I appreciate that, Pig. Self-restraint is good. Self-restraint and patience. That's not like... What was I thinking of? That's not too off-center, right? A little over there. A little over to the side. There we go. Okay. Okay. Damn it. I forgot to return Juice's points from last stream. Oopsie. Well, next time. I don't think that's a mechanic on mobile is a problem, which is weird thinking about it, but who knows how Twitch works. You know what I know is that tier lists typically do well on the internet. I mean, are we still in the age of the internet? YN? Because, I don't know. I like seeing a good tier list. I mean, honestly, I like seeing tier lists about stuff I don't care about, so that way I don't harshly disagree with people I'm watching, but it is what it is. But yeah, we have several tiers here. We have F, D, C, B, A, S, and God. F is for the real stinkers. F is for the really bad ones, okay? B and D, B through D, different levels of mid. Different levels of, well, you gave it your best shot. Fucking, here's how much I kind of enjoyed it. It was okay, I guess. No, actually, that would be D and C. D is low mid, C is high mid. B is good, but not that good. A is pretty good. A is pretty dang good. S is, this is a fantastic movie. God tier is, this is why I like animation more than live action most of the time. Well, I hope you might enjoy the VOD, Paula, but you always know I appreciate you stopping by whenever. So, thanks for coming on by. I'll try to get through them. I'll try to get through a couple of the first ones quick. So yeah, God tier is like, I've seen the best live action films ever. I've seen Citizen Kane, and that's a trash fire compared to this film. So who knows when our first God tier is going to be? Probably not for a minute. Even some of my favorite Disney films aren't in God tier. So it'll be a selective few. But you know what? Like, there's really not any reason to wait any longer. Y'all know how tier lists work. I gave a basic rundown. We got everything set up. Why not start? Why not start? So so I've tried to have these. What I did is I went through theatrical release lists from different studios. Western, some anime. I haven't seen a lot of anime films, unfortunately. And I just went through, and I tried to have it chronological for the most part by studio, but the way Tier List Maker loaded them in, they're a little out of order. So we will have a general timeline set out as we go through different studios, but it won't just be like, it won't be pure chronological in any sense of the word. With that in mind, our first movie up for selection is, I'm trying to do the thing. Pinocchio. He's gonna sit in B tier right now, as I talk about him. Pinocchio, I mean, it's pretty easy. I feel like I should put him in A tier. Heck, the background even matches and everything. I rewatched like a couple of Golden Age Disney movies a few years back to really refresh my memory on them, and Pinocchio was one of them, and Pinocchio's pretty dang good. I feel like I don't know, because on one hand, yes, the story is kind of, for that much younger demographic, it's not necessarily like the deepest thing. It's wooden boy wants to be a real boy, learning right from wrong. But like, it's also not that lighthearted. Heck, if Pig's still in chat, he should probably be able to tell you that I would argue the movie's final antagonist, Monstro the whale, terrified him. And you want to know something? That's understandable. The scene of Monstro's introduction and then him chasing down Geppetto, Pinocchio, and Jiminy is terrifying. And also, there's child slavery. Like, I feel like the reason Pinocchio ultimately learns not to do bad things is because bad things lead to child trafficking. Also, they say, I learned the word jackass from this movie. They say jackass in this movie. I went to my parents, asked them what they meant, and they're like, it means you're stupid. So, And they're like, where'd you hear that word? And because I was in the house alone. And they were like, I heard it watching Pinocchio. So, honestly, the animation's great. When You Wish Upon a Star is a classic song. Overall, this is a very good watch. Pinocchio is A tier. Snow White. Honestly, Snow White goes in B tier. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, if you don't know, is the first animated movie. And that's not just Disney being revisionist history. A lot of film, fun fact, is kind of muddy because people tend to invent the same thing around the same time. And that's the case with animated films too. The first like full-length animated film, depending on when you know, on what you're counting, is either like this, like a puppet film a few years or like only like a year or two earlier. Like it's a very close race. But Snow White popularizing the animated film, winning Oscars, and being in the format that animated films across the world would be done in for decades to come, does generally lead it to I would say, like, yes, it is the first animated film. It's got good animation. The story is decent. Honestly, I don't know if the events portrayed, the plot is as interesting as well, Kingfisher, I don't know what the actual definition of the film is or how it's changed over time. Length is definitely a thing, but some of these are like 70 minutes, when I think today it's generally considered to be 90 minutes. I went specifically by theatrically released. Like, specifically, if the studio is like, slap this is a movie we made and we put it in a theater, that's what I went by. Back to Snow White. The songs are really great. Snow White, honestly, more than anything else, feels like an opera. I think I had heard that from somewhere too. Like, like art, music, pretty good. Misogyny. And you want to know something? Not even from Damsel in Distress trope. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Y'all know the Seven Dwarves? Y'all know Grumpy? Fucking Grumpy is grumpy in the film. Specifically, Grumpy in the film is grumpy about women. He's grumpy that a woman lives with them now. And he hates women. And it comes up almost every time he opens his mouth, and it's really uncomfortable. So, arguably, what should have... I mean, that might make me put it down in C, but Grumpy isn't in this movie as much as you might think. I'm gonna leave it in B. In part because legitimately good animation, historical placement, maybe a little boring at times, but it loses a lot of points for grumpy misogyny. If you want to put that in your fucking F tier because of that, understandable. But for me, that puts Snow White kind of actually. Okay, we'll put it in C because I said C was like high middle, so we will put Snow White in C. Yeah, Kingfisher, but it doesn't make it better. Even if Grumpy is meant to be the jerk of the film, him being a jerk... I've made this a one-time tier list, Paula. I don't know. Yeah, create single-use tier list. Or we could look at ads. So I mean... I would argue if you want to do this to yourself, just make the same tiers, and then just put on whatever animated movies you've seen, you know? If you've seen all the ones I'm going to talk about today, great, but more so this is about the journey with animated films, so that's kind of personalized to each person. But yeah, so we're gonna leave Snow White in C tier. Historian in me almost historian art guy in me almost wants to put it higher, but honestly, Grumpy alone, Grumpy's misogyny alone brings it down. understandable. But I think Kingfisher, the other thing is, like, it's from the 30s. So, at the end of the day, like, I feel watching these days makes me feel like, you know, back and forth. I'm just gonna leave it there. Because there are better Disney animated films. If anything, Snow White gets bumped, like, fucking, if Snow White was the only animated film, god dear. But that's not the case anymore. So we're gonna leave it down here for now. Dumbo. I love Dumbo. Dumbo gets an A tier. Honestly, Dumbo is probably the most children's film from the Disney Golden Age. I know a lot of people see older Disney movies as, like, specifically kids movies, but the only one I see that wholly applicable to is Dumbo. It's a pretty kid-friendly movie. That being said, I think the animation is fantastic at some points. Like, it has really good animation. The story's pretty good. I like Timothy compared to it's up here in part because, like, you know, it's got a Jimothy Cricket character in Timothy Mouse, but I like Timothy Mouse infinitely better, and it's got the pink elephant scene. And I love the pink elephants. And, like, that's the thing, right? Like, the whole movie happens, and the climax happens right after pink elephants. So it almost leads up to this weird elephant drug, like, almost. Alright, that is accurate, but that, if anything, Kingfisher, you're hyping the film up more. You're making me think I should put Dumbo in S. Dumbo is great for a lot of reasons. Like, Dumbo goes, like, you get those opening events Kingfisher is talking about, then Dumbo is born. Everyone hates him for his big ears for some reason. He gets traumatized by clowns, goes visits his imprisoned mother. Those clowns get him drunk. he sees pink elephants, learns how to fly, and then he becomes a superstar after that. Yeah, Paula, that stuff in Pinocchio makes Pinocchio cool. Okay. Misogyny. No one is cool because of misogyny. And I'll stand on this hill. I'll die on this hill. Misogyny, guys? I don't think that's cool. Pinocchio smoking a large cigar and knocking back some brewskis with the bros is cool. I'm not gonna say what I see, but they should know that I see it. I took it. Heck yeah! Aw, that's very nice of you to say, me. Appreciate that you're here. So, yeah, I'm gonna be honest. We'll skip on this lightly. I know people have problems with the crow characters in Pinocchio. I get the one's name is just an asshole thing, but I don't know. I just kind of leave them out of the conversation because I don't understand myself, and also, you know, they're not really what I'm coming to the movie for. I'd argue again, the fact silent protagonist, bring out a parrot, you got it. Silent protagonist and single mouse, I think, carry this movie, and that should be, you know, hyped up just as much. So we're gonna leave it there. Fantasia. This is a tricky one. I'm almost tempted to put Fantasia right next to Snow White. Fantasia slap. It's pretty good. How about, well, you know what? It is a more interesting watch than Snow White, almost certainly. Fantasia's a movie. So we'll put it in B. Is 5 shorts. How long is Fantasia? If Fantasia is over an hour, I'm gonna call it a movie. Fantasia, 1940. Where's the running time? 100. Fantasia is 2 hours long. Fantasia is... That's not 5 shorts, that's 5 cartoon episodes. And there is another much later movie on this list, which is basically the same thing, and is also considered a movie in modern standards. So Fantasia's a movie. Yeah. I think the thing that drags it down for me is it's like the dinosaur one, fucking fantastic. Jurassic Park, 50 years before Jurassic Park came along. You know, Sorcerer's Apprentice, Chernabog. Those ones, amazing. I think there's some sleepier ones in there, which granted, it is meant to be classical music. But like, it's, again, this is a full 120 minutes. Well, you could say that, Kingfisher, but Fantasia specifically is an anthology to get, it was never made separately. It is slapped together. And again, I can't stress this enough. I got these from the Wikipedia articles for what counts as films from these studios. So for that there's another one coming up that Kingfisher's probably not going to be happy with. What was I thinking of? So there's some sleeper ones in there. Also, I think it should be said, I think this is... No, I was going to say this is the only film. There is exactly one more film coming up with this issue. This is a film that has an insensitive caricature in it. Like, visually. Not even a writing thing. Well, no, okay. I can't... Okay, one more time. Actually, Juice, I know you're in chat. If you can put this... These films are from lists of theatrically released films that Cahill has seen. Because I haven't seen all the Disney films. If there is a mod, I would appreciate if you pin my message. So I haven't seen all of them. So there, I would argue, I think the ones, if Kingfisher was just looking at Wikipedia, then, like, those ones aren't on this list because I haven't seen them, honestly. There are anthology films, but even if I saw some of those shorts, I haven't seen, like, the film anthology, so I didn't bother including them. Back to Fantasia. But yeah, so there's like a minute of a single character that is an insensitive caricature. Why it was included in the first place, beyond me. It has since been, of course, edited out in future releases of this film, as it probably should be. But I can't ignore that, because it's like, it's almost even worse than Grumpy being an asshole through the full film. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so specifically one specific moment of a 2-hour film. It's mind-boggling why it's there. It definitely drags it down the list. But moreover, I would argue kind of certain sleepier points in this longer film drag it down, even though it is a masterfully animated film. But I would argue there are movies that came out later and are on this list that did kind of this idea better. So next up we have Cinderella. Cinderella is going on B tier. Why? Because it's okay. Like, it's good. It's very well animated. But there are, there is at least one better Disney princess film, even from the Golden Age, on this list. And, like, I wouldn't say it does anything bad. I wouldn't say does anything like mind-blowingly well. So B tier. Because remember, to get past A into S, you have to not just be good. You have to be like, oh my goodness. So honestly, Kingfisher, that's a fantastic idea. I would love to do that at some point. I might actually take that from you, Kingfisher. That's a good thing. I like that idea. Mayhaps. Next, we have Bambi. Bambi is going to go in C tier for a couple. Mom. Bambi got bumped up one because one of those emotional shotguns to the heart that has left an impact on media for the past 100 years. I was just gonna say, yeah, so we'll leave it in B tier for two reasons. One, this is the first of these films where, because I haven't rewatched all of these, and I wanted that to be kind of a point, specifically because it's like, I feel like part of it should be the lasting impact of these films on my mind. Like, if I saw this on a child, as only when I was a child, like, whether or not I remember it super well, I feel like should be part of it, especially, again, since this tier list is meant to represent more so a journey with animation over the years. And with that in mind, I remember Bambi being one of the sleepier Disney films I saw as a kid. But again, everyone knows the mom bit. There's a cute rabbit. Well, you say that, but it's going in B. It's going in B for Bunny. Yeah, and just like Kingfisher said, it had a good song. That's the thing, though. I didn't even remember the song. But I remember parts of it, which is enough to put it on this list. I remember the general vibe. Everyone knows about the mom bit. So Bambi goes in B for Bambi. Alice goes in A for Alice. I love Alice, not F, not for Bambi. Paula, you're gonna see what an F category looks like eventually. I tell you. And that's mostly what I remember, Kingfisher. Like the emotion, the narrative, the general narrative of the film, and the technique with which it is done earns it that B placement, but the sleepier segments and overall pace drag it down. Alice goes in A because Alice in Wonderland is also fantastically animated, like so many of these Golden Age movies we've been looking at. But remember how I was praising Dumbo for having like a 5-minute drug trip towards the beginning of its third act? That's Alice in Wonderland for like 90 minutes. I watched this film on a plane last time I had to take a plane somewhere. Yeah, exactly. Like, in fact, I would argue, especially since Disney, the studio, has took a crack at Alice in Wonderland again, this is one of the better adaptations of the book, just because it is nonsense for 90 minutes. Like, so many Alice films and games try to make it like a linear narrative. That's not what the books are. I've read the books not more recently, I read them a while ago, but, decently recently. And they're not at all a linear narrative. They are just freaky, and that's just the original Disney film, and it's really well done, and I like the animation in it. Yeah, no, that I forgot, because yeah, Cheshire Cat is described in the books, but it's really well realized with good voice acting in the Alice film. Like, Cheshire Cat is honestly at his best when seen in motion, and the best motion he's been portrayed in is in this Disney film. Especially since not too long ago, I saw a montage of the different ways Cheshire Cat has been portrayed in film, and I was just waiting for the Disney one constantly, like before and after. I was like, that's the only one I care about. Not just because of emotional attachment, but also because it's really well done. Yeah. And also, that's the other thing. I imagine Meat is saying something about the Alice in Wonderland author being problematic. This is a Golden Age Disney film that doesn't really have anything problematic in it. I mean, there's the walrus that eats babies, but that's less problematic and more just horrifying. I have not seen Pagemaster, Paula, I'm sorry, or Rockadoodle. Pagemaster I read in school. I did not see the movie adaptation. Next up is Peter Pan. Peter Pan should go in A tier, except for an extended sequence of poor caricatures of Native American. Remember how I said I remember how I was like, Snow White loses points because of Grumpy. Fantasia loses points because of that one character for 1 minute. Peter Pan's part of this goes on for so long. So wildly long. And it's aged so wildly poorly. If it wasn't in there, it would be a much shorter film, and that film would go in A tier. It is in there, so it's going in D tier. And we're gonna move past that. Okay. So, this is the first film. The next one coming up. I mean, if you want to share that in Studio Library, Kingfisher, I'd love to hear it. I'm going kind of rapid pace here, but we have a lot of films to cover. It only is so much time, so I want to make sure we get to them all. So, like, I'm definitely willing to go back and forth about certain things in the films. But if you want to share that in the Discord, that'd probably be the best place for it. So the next film we're going to rank on here is probably the first one to which Kingfisher's earlier objections most likely apply. Because the next one is Ichabod. Is it fucking Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad? I didn't know what this film was. I learned it's mostly anthology. Most of which is the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And I've seen Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And it's pretty good. We're gonna put it in B. Because in general, I went on the Mr. Toad ride at Disneyland. It was fantastic. I've seen Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Well, because what I had said earlier is echoing my mind, in that if it's just kind of pretty good, decent adaptations of the Sleepy Hollow book and a silly cartoon, maybe we should put C. C, just so we can keep B as generally pretty good film, you know, and C is like, yeah, it's good, you know. C is yeah, B is good. Okay, Paula makes a fantastic point. It has a killer song. I forget how it goes, but I can hear it in my head. What was it thinking of? Boom, boom, bum, ba-da, ba-da, bum. I know what Paula is talking about. So, for classic Disney show tunes, we'll move it back up to B. I'm okay with that. This is very loosey-goosey, and I hope chat is okay with that. Next up is Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty goes in S for Sleeping Beauty. I'm not taking notes on this. Sleeping Beauty might be the best Golden Age Disney film that discography has to offer. Let's start with the first most obvious thing. There's not any, you know, any of that 40s flavor in there. So that's nice. And having rewatched the film, this film is genuinely a something of like a medieval, like, action-packed. I don't want to say action-packed because the first act isn't very actiony, but I don't know. It's really good. Have y'all seen this? Have you rewatched Sleeping Beauty recently? We might have all seen it when we were kids, but have you seen it recently? First off, Maleficent should go, and God, Maleficent is slightly insulted she didn't get invited to, okay, Kingfisher, here's what you need to know about original Maleficent. She doesn't get invited to a baby shower. And then she kills a baby. Then she kills the baby. A bunch of... the titular Sleeping Beauty is the princess to a kingdom. Upon her birth, she is promised to a slightly older but still very young prince of a neighboring nation to avoid war in the future. Sick. All the like a bunch of magical creatures from the surrounding wilderness show up. They're like, we got gifts from you. Maleficent, also a magical creature, shows up and says, I wasn't invited. This baby will die in 18 years. Exactly. That's the inciting incident. After that, we see everyone do their best to hide away the now infant princess, keeping it a secret to her what's happened, only for the princess to find the prince and fall in love with him after one meeting, probably because she's never seen another man, a man in her entire life, and is just like, Lord, anyone else in my life. And I think what helps work about this is it's not just, yes, that's exactly it, Paula. It's not just like Disney love at first sight, because that just happens to work out. You know, them ending up together isn't like a thing that needs to be solved. They're betrothed to each other to prevent war. In fact, there's there's a sequence with their dads getting drunk over it, and that's pretty great too. Prince Philip rules. Anyway, then Maleficent manages to kill the princess anyway, despite like 40 minutes going by of people just trying to prevent that from happening. And then Philip fights her on horseback and kills her as a dragon. She's the dragon, Philip kills her, to be clear. And then the movie is over, and it's all animated in a super cool art style. They made a whole castle out of it. If anyone who doesn't know, the castle in the original Disneyland is named Sleeping Beauty Castle as a promotion. The film wasn't out when the park was built. This released in 1956, the park opened 1955. They built a whole castle out of it. And it's a pretty good film. S tier for Golden Age Disney. Now, we are getting a little past Golden Age Disney. Because Golden Age I would generally define as the time when Walt Disney was alive. And these upcoming films were released after he died. Granted, he might have still, participated in making them, because films take a while to get out, especially back in ye olden times. But in general, these are post-Disney Disney. So, we're getting into that era of this studio now. So, 101 Dalmatians. 101 Dalmatians is going... technically, you would define that as this Kingfisher. And these are some great movies, to be clear. I do love these. I don't know if any of them are going to be Sleeping Beauty level, but they're all pretty good. I'm going to put 101 Dalmatians in A tier, because I remember it, but I haven't seen it in forever. And, this film is arguably, this film is, the reason the live-action remakes are a bad idea. Because part of what makes this film great is Cruella. Cruella is just an awful person who has noticed that her assistant has come into a wealth of puppies and wants to skim them to make a coat. And that's the whole plot. And do you want to know something? That is true, Kingfisher. I haven't seen that one in longer than the animated one, though. So, It's been a while since I saw the live action one. But that's weirdly a live action remake from Disney before the era of live action remakes from Disney. Cruella is amazing. So just in general, it has a really charming art style, a fantastic villain. The song, like if we're talking about half of these being as high as they are, just based on the show tunes from them, Cruella's theme song might be the only song in this film actually, but it also is the best villain song ever. It's super jazzy. It tells you it's like the Grinch Christmas song, except not at all Christmassy. It goes to A. So remember how... Oh, you're right, kid. They write the song about how awful she is in the movie. It's pretty good. Moving on. Next up, Lady and the Tramp. I'm gonna put Lady and the Tramp right next to Bambi. Because I similarly don't remember very much about Lady and the Tramp. It's been a while. I remember generally the film. I couldn't walk you through it scene by scene. It might be lower than... Actually, because Bambi got up there because of its mom. I was going to put it in C. Because it's just kind of sleepy. You know, it's just kind of slow. And that's it. Actually, the Siamese cat should get it lower. The Lady and the Tramp might be... Okay, we're putting... If that's what those are... If this film is what those guys are from, it's going next to Peter and the Pan. Moving on. Yeah, okay. So, Lady and the Tramp is in D tier. Because, like, compared to the other animal-based films in this tier list, it's the only one that manages to sneak in a bad caricature. Yeah, so it goes in D tier, and then other than that, it's like, eh. Sword in the Stone. Sword in the Stone goes into A tier. If for no other reason, just for Merlin. But Merlin is like the reason the entire plot happens. Merlin is arguably the main character of Sword in the Stone more than Wirt is. You know what I'm saying? Like, the movie opens on Merlin. The movie is about, like, Merlin being like, oh, there's a kid who's gonna be king, and he's kind of a loser right now. I need to help with that. And then, like, the rest of the movie is him learning life lessons. It's kind of a montage, but also it kind of fucks around with, like, montage movies. You know, ones that don't necessarily have linear plots, but are instead, like, kind of a series of adventure a group of people go on and grow closer together. And that's generally what Sword in the Stone is, except Merlin is in it, and weirdly, like, the film portrays Merlin as someone who knows and has been to the future. As in, like, our future, right? And I watched this not too long ago, actually on the same plane ride I watched Alice in Wonderland in. And Merlin weirdly ages super well, like his comedy and everything does. And going on that character alone, let alone the journey he goes on, like with the word through Arthurian legend, helps to kind of elevate it. And also, it's kind of great because thinking from memory, I think this is like the one King Arthur film where instead of starting with him pulling the sword from the stone, that's the end of the movie. Wirt pulls the sword from the stone in like the last like 10 minutes of the movie and then credits. And honestly, good move. I like it. Controversial. Mary Poppins. This was live action, but they counted it as animated. I'm guessing because of that animated sequence in it. This is hard. Those penguins are amazing. So Kingfisher is hyped about this. I'm tempted to put Mary Poppins in S tier. Just as a general movie. Mary Poppins is an amazing movie. It's also not animated for most of it. Which makes me want to bring it down to like B. It should get S, but since like 2/3 of it, bare minimum, are in animated, it makes me want to move it down a couple tiers. So I'm kind of torn. You could argue that it deserves. How about we strike it in the middle? It's not animated on a whole. Like, the whole thing isn't animated, but it's a fantastic movie. And considering that it was done in an age before computers, like, the animation technique alone helps to kind of bring it up. So we'll leave it in A as a kind of middle of, like, where it should be, depending on what stance you take on this being considered an animated movie. I only have one other live-action hybrid coming up. So, I should have put Space Jam on here, but I forgot. I'll just be honest with you. I forgot Space Jam. I'm sorry. It's too late. Space Jam would probably go right next to Mary Poppins, if I'm being honest. For completely different reasons, by the way. It's not particularly good. I would argue it's very entertaining. That is correct, Paula. So, with that in mind, if I had Space Jam on here, it'd be an A tier. And that's all y'all have to know. Jungle Book. So, here's the thing. So, I'm the king of the swingers. The Jungle VIP. I've reached the top, but had to stop. And that's what's been bothering me. I want to be a man-child, and stroll right into town, and be just like those other men. I'm tired of monkeying around. Scooby-Doop. I want to be like you, man cub. I want to put it in S, just because I might say it has some of the best music in all of Golden Age Disney. Maybe some of the best music generally in an animated movie. But at this point, in terms of Disney animation, the style has kind of mellowed out to be a little samey, and its plot isn't necessarily as good as like Snow White or maybe the other ones, so we're gonna leave it in A tier right now. Is that true? B tier. Based on problematic book, B. No, we're not gonna take the source material too much into this for several reasons. I'm gonna leave it in A tier for right now. The Rescuers. I'm gonna put The Rescuers in B tier. I remember this a decent amount. It has a pretty good plot, some good animation. I say good animation because, like, as I did just say with Jungle Book, like, it's kind of become a bit samey by this point. This point being like the 60s and 70s, but like the Rescuers go from like don't they go from New York to like Louisiana on the back of their seagull friend? I like the art direction from like the city to the swamp. What I'm saying. I like Albatross. He's an damn, everyone, see, it's been a while since I've seen it. Everyone's gotten on my ass for that. Here's the thing. It's gonna go in B, because again, what I just said about Jungle Book, and in general, I like it, but across all these animated movies, I don't think it's standing out very much. And we have the sequel to go over in just a minute, and and the sequel's better. So, we're gonna leave Rescuers in B right now. Yeah, so if we're all agreed in that, Rescuers is going in B right now. Aristocrats. Aristocrats goes in B, not A. Not A. I like this era of Disney, right? I could binge these films, but whether or not any one of them stand out on their own, is kind of debatable. Everybody does want to be a cat. This is undeniable. Okay? You can't beat that. Is Robin Hood not? No, Robin Hood is on the list. Paula. It's just, this isn't in total chronological order, just because of the way the tier list maker loaded them up. So, it'll be along in a second. But yeah, Aristocrats is cool. It just doesn't really stand out. I'm actually tempted to put it in C. Good music. We'll leave it in B tier. That might be the first one that might be subjected to change later. We'll see. Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh is A tier, and Winnie the Pooh might be God tier. Winnie the Pooh is A tier. I can't put Pooh Bear lower than A tier. I'm gonna be real with y'all, because some of y'all might be like, Cahill, that's an anthology film of short Winnie the Pooh cartoons that Disney had produced earlier. And I say, I know, but I like it. And Winnie the Pooh is adorable. Like, are you gonna tell me you're about to watch this specific collection of Disney animation and not feel really good about yourself after? It's really cute. I can't let the gang know I fuck with this, but I do fuck with this heavily. I really like Winnie the Pooh. I can't put it in S tier for any particular reason, but I can't put it lower than A tier. Winnie the Pooh goes in A tier. Robin Hood also goes in A tier. I think this is the only adaptation of Robin Hood that might have changed some people. I do fucks with Winnie the Pooh like that, Juice. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like Winnie the Pooh. Robin Hood might be the only adaptation of Robin Hood that changed some people's sexuality. Which is weird, because it's also the only one starring a fox. But that helps it, honestly. As we start to consider that over time the Disney style, like in this period, starts to get a little samey. This being Robin Hood but fox, Robin Hood but furry, helps it stand out. And also, Little John is just Baloo, and I see that as a positive, not a negative. It's a good time. A snake, yes. Yeah, that's the other part. Like, honestly, when we start comparing these movies to other movies, I do think it's important to remember a lot of this period. This might be the only, like, specific list of, like, hand-drawn animation we have in this category. Actually, we have Akira coming up later, so that counts. Actually, we have a couple. We do have a couple hand-drawn, but with that in mind, yeah, Robin Hood is a very well animated film. Kind of like Alice in Wonderland, it's a decent adaptation. And it's just very charming. Like, it gets here the same way Winnie the Pooh gets here, in that I can't say no to this face. I might be a furry. So I'm not putting him, he's not going higher, but he's not going lower. He's not a bottom. Rescuers Down Under, A tier also. Lots of A tiers. This one I remember the plot, I would say as well, if not a bit better, and it's better animated. And it should be noted that that's not necessarily even because of technology, because this is also historically important, because it's the first Disney film that used computers to, like, do a major process. They colored it with computers. But it's also beautiful, because the animation in this film is such a step up from the first Rescuers. And then I'd argue the villain's also better too. Like, granted, General Kidnapper's pretty bad, but they make poacher man who is also probably going to kill a child. Also pretty bad. Yeah. So, like, I don't know if I could really put it for S for a couple reasons. Just in general, because like that's why I put Rescuers on B, right? Like its sequel is better, undoubtedly. Is its sequel S tier? Maybe. But there's lots of really beautifully animated movies on this list, especially in the Disney category. And with that in mind, I don't think just having it looks pretty can bump it up all the way to S tier. So we're gonna leave it in A tier for now. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I think, and I'm pretty confident in this actually, is our first God tier. First off, yes, it is half live action, but also, I don't think there's many scenes without an animated character somewhere in it. So it is majorly animated, and we're not talking about CGI, we're talking about hand-drawn animation. It's also the only film, I think, period, to have Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse. This is like Avengers. I need you to understand, not even talking about the quality of the film, which is wildly high. The way this film couldn't happen today, when everyone is holding on to their IPs with bloody fingers. This film is a love letter to the golden age of animation, which we've been largely talking about for most of this list so far. And it does it so well with a noir plot and like weirdly adult. This is mostly an adult film, I would argue. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, remember how I said if I had remembered Space Jam, it would be an A? I have Mary Poppins on here. Even if I put Mary Poppins where it should be, it would still be below Roger Rabbit. Like, I mean, it's hard to call it a mystery, because you see Judge for the first time, and you're like, well, he's the guilty one, clearly. But I guess the mystery is more unraveling what his plan is, rather than, you know, who done it. You know who done it. You want to know why and what's happening. And the idea of we're going to tear down all cartoons to put up a freeway is both ridiculous and also weirdly like, oh, that feels bad. Like, oh, capitalism. You know what I mean? It actually kind of weirdly sets the stakes up really well. Next film, Little Mermaid. Little Mermaid. She wants to pee where the people are. I haven't seen this in a while, but I do remember it pretty clearly. I'd argue even more clearly than, you know, Aristocrats or Rescuers. I'm trying to think. Just personally, this is the start of the Disney Renaissance, and it's like, for anyone who doesn't know, the Disney Renaissance is that period of like late, you know, 80s to 90s, early 2000s, where Walt Disney was dead, but Disney started putting out like the real bangers again, like box office hits and immediate classics. And Little Mermaid was the start of that. It does also have really good songs. We put fucking Dalmatians up here because Cruella de Vil is cunty as hell. And honestly, so is Ursula. Yeah, we'll put Little Mermaid in A tier. Honestly, probably more Renaissance films are going to end up in S tier. But Little Mermaid goes in A tier right now, and I feel okay with that. Again, maybe we'll put like some A tiers, more A tiers in here, and I'm like, Little Mermaid's higher. But right now, I'm just like, you know, Disney princess film, and honestly, it doesn't stand out to me as much as Sleeping Beauty does, ironically. But it has good music, it has a good villain, so. Great Mouse Detective. It's been a while. I'm gonna put it in B. It's got some good animation. It's got some good songs. I remember it decently well in spite of not seeing it for a while. And it's a cool twist on doing a Sherlock Holmes adaptation, but it is also just kind of Sherlock Holmes. So, like, where do we stand on this? I think I'm kind of okay leaving it in B. After. That is a wildly valid list, Kingfisher. But yeah, it's real good. It probably deserves more credit than it gets. But compared to the rest of these films, like I could say that about Rescuers and Robin Hood, so it can't get too much higher. Next up is Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast goes in S tier. It goes in S tier because it should have won Best Oscar of the Year. If you haven't heard me go on this rant before, they made the category of like Best Animated Film versus Best Film, period, because Beauty and the Beast got very close to winning Best Film, and they didn't want it to happen again. Well, Paula, I feel like more people could say that about Robin Hood for Great Mouse Detective. So, I really can't put it much higher. IMO. But yeah, Beauty and the Beast is great. I will say this. I feel like a lot of these films that we've ranked so far are more cozy than anything. Beauty and the Beast feels cinematic. It has, I'd argue, some of the best art we've seen here since, like, Fantasia, maybe I don't know. It feels like it definitely has better art than Rescuers. But, like, it's up there. I feel like you're thinking of, Fern Gully, Kingfisher. Yeah, that's the other thing. So I've felt conflicted about how technology has affected the animation scene for a long time now. But there's no arguing that the films produced in the early days of like computers entering the scene were fucking amazing. Like, they looked gorgeous. I remember, Paula, I still feel like, I know the Mouse Showgirl, I still feel like Robin Hood made more people a furry. Gadget was Chip and Dale. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything I can say about Beauty and the Beast. Other than that, it definitely made a lot of people a furry. So amazing music. There's nothing I can say for Beauty and the Beast that may not apply to every other Disney film, except that Beauty and the Beast might have done it some of the best here. I did assume that was a typo, Paul. That's on mine. That's something for everyone. Next up is Lion King. Chat, let me ask you. Is Lion King going in S tier or God tier? What? We live in the age of Frozen, and I still feel like people end up showing their kids Lion King instead. Lion King, first off, it's Shakespeare. Okay, Kingfisher says God tier. I'm pretty inclined to agree with them. First off, let's get one thing off the bat. This is Shakespeare. You know how most of these Disney films we've ranked so far are either some weird concept or based off a fairy tale? Fucking... This one is just Shakespeare. I gotta go let me go grab water real quick. I'm sorry.
Hi, chat. I've been here the whole time.
Hello? I didn't have my headphones on. Was Juice talking to chat? Chat, am I hearing things? But, well, that's the thing, Kingfisher, is like, I feel like something that it should also get props for is like, people trying to do modern Shakespeare looks at Romeo and Juliet, hide it under like one layer. They either hide it very sloppily, or they don't hide it. Yes, there's also that. There's the wildebeest scene. That, again, much like Beauty and the Beast, this era of animation was putting out some absolutely... I mean, it's fine juice, but it's not Lion King. A fucking Lion King did Romeo and Juliet too, and most people also like that. That was direct to DVD though, so it's not going on here. It has Timon and Pumbaa. Like, this is such a well done reinterpretation of Shakespeare's work that most people, upon seeing it, didn't even know it was that. And I think that's a credit to it, because when you realize that, and with how freely it's admitted, like, I'm pretty sure Disney has said it directly that Lion King is Shakespeare. It, like, the fact that you might not get that on a first watch, I think is to the film's credit, on top of having some amazing animation, and also, it's better than the quote-unquote live-action version. That's fair. But hey, Kingfisher, we have another movie. As someone who's gone to animation school, Kingfisher, we do have another movie slightly later on this list that applies to, and that will also almost certainly be going into God tier for the same reason. The lion sex scene. It all earns it. This is the only Disney movie, so far at least, on this list that has a sex scene. And it's between lions for some reason. So, we're gonna leave it there. I don't know what upending means, Paul. I'm gonna be honest with you. So I can't answer that. Maybe someone else can. Goofy movie. I don't want to just keep putting God tiers up here. It might be God tier. If we put... Okay. Here's the thing. If we put Goofy movie in God tier, we can't put Extremely Goofy movie also in God tier. Both because I legitimately feel like that sequel isn't actually better than the first one. I know it has the goth girl, but and the hot librarian. It has a Goofy, Extremely Goofy movie has a lot of hot people. We know it. We all know, but that doesn't make it better. That's what I'm saying. So I feel like, especially on a movie tier list meant to rank animated movies, the Goofy movie does something that arguably might not, like, we might have only gotten a taste of in like something like Roger Rabbit, where it takes some classic characters, specifically Goofy and Pete. Pete, fun fact, being Disney's oldest named character, which they are still using. And it puts them into a genuinely well done, emotional story. And also Powerline is there. It might... I'm going to leave it in S tier. That might change later. But I'm getting a little more selective about God tier. I'm confident with these two. Goofy movie is a fantastic movie. But if I'm limited to like single digit number of movies, of animated movies to shoot off into space to show aliens, I don't know if maybe I put Goofy movie on there. I'm not sure. We're gonna let it sit in S tier for now. It is it's Goofy made legitimately emotional through some kind of insane witchcraft. Okay, I have to put Goofy movie in God tier. I'm sorry. It can't not go in God tier. But if I'm just... I feel like I'm thinking too much about Goofy and not Max, who is arguably the protagonist. I feel like I'm letting my emotions get in the way just a little too much. So we're gonna let it sit in God tier. It's S tier. We're gonna let it sit in S tier. If I feel later on that we have room in God tier and the S tier is too cluttered, I might move Goofy up. Aladdin also goes in S tier, if for no other reason than Robin Williams as the genie. The whole movie's pretty good. Robin Williams as the genie is S tier. I'm gonna move it to God tier if we mention the remake, because it'll just get me mad. I'm like, this movie's better than that, actually. Yeah. But overall, S tier. Pocahontas. We're gonna put Pocahontas in B tier. B or A. Pocahontas isn't like, it's not S tier. Keeping in mind that Pocahontas came out around the same time as like the Lion King, Goofy movie. Think about that. That's the kind of movies they were making. And then Pocahontas. I didn't even mention Roxanne. Fine, we'll put Pocahontas in A tier for the songs. So many Disney movies getting bumped up because of the songs. But like, there's a weird conversation to be had here. There's also the conversation that Disney thought that this was going to be more successful than Lion King, which is not true in any metric. There's no metric on earth you could measure that by I guess you could make. Actually, I was about to say like historical, but not only is that not true for several reasons with Pocahontas, but it's also not true because, Lion King is Macbeth. Lion King goes back further than Pocahontas, the historical figure. So Pocahontas goes in A tier. A Nightmare Before Christmas. Every person who's been in a Hot Topic knows There's an argument Nightmare deserves to be in God tier. One, because it's a fully musical movie. If we're giving points to music, almost every sentence of this movie is sang, and it all works really well. This was Hamilton before Hamilton, non-derogatory. But I don't know. I almost do I. On one hand. So, like, thinking of this as, like, representation for stop motion in general is kind of what helps put it in God tier. And on that note, it uses the offsetting kind of look of stop motion to great effect, given its Halloween theme. I'm gonna leave it in. I'm sorry. There's probably some people who think this movie is overrated. But I think it genuinely kind of deserves to be right here. It's really good. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Because if you've only ever seen it through the lens of Hot Topic people. Also, I love looking down and fucking... These two are here just because of racist caricatures. But anyway... Well, like, this is like an opera. This is legitimately like an animated opera. And it's managed to endure for a long time. It's like 30 years at this point. So I kind of want. Goofy movie was more of a debate. Just for many reasons. One of them being art direction. I want to leave Nightmare up here. Hercules goes in A. Hercules goes in S. I was like, S. Music, art style, creativity, fucking muses, hot people, Hades, the Titans. Is this accurate to Greek mythology? Not at all. I don't think that's what they were going for. Everyone's like, oh, Zeus being a good father. Yeah, fucking... They make Danny DeVito into a not a centaur. What are those things called? Oh, I was just fighting him in Hades. But you know what I'm talking about, a goat man. Like Satyr. There you go. I will sing what's his main theme? I've been thinking of so many animated movies. My head's mixed up. Go the Distance. I sing Go the Distance. Yes, thank you, Kingfisher. I had my eyes closed thinking. I sing that to myself and I start crying. and remember when I was talking about Disney animation getting the same? Genuinely look at this movie. Look at how it portrays ancient Greece, how it draws its character. Even right here, you can see all the fucking swirls. Everything is swirly. Like, they do a great thing where, like, they have the style influence of ancient Greek art in there, but then they switch from that to this unique movie style art, and it works really well. Which is, again, to say nothing of the music. I'm not putting it higher because it's great. It's a fantastic movie. I'd put it above a lot of live action movies. But again, being selective about God tier, I would argue that there's, like, it belongs amongst Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast, and that's not an insult. So, Toy Story. I almost want to put Toy Story in F tier. I've gone on this rant a couple times, which is that after Toy Story came out, because Toy Story was obviously developed as the first film with this 3D animated technology, and after that happened, everyone was just like, okay, we can only do 3D, no more 2D movies, never again. Fucking tomorrow, a Looney Tunes 2D animated movie comes out. Do you know that? You probably don't. Because Warner Brothers didn't give it a theatrical release. They almost scrapped the whole thing, and it had to be bought out from them to be released at a film festival. And that's the only place you can see it tomorrow. And I, in part, blame Toy Story for that. But there is no doubt that it gave innovation to animation in general, and is a legitimately pretty good film. So, I will put Toy Story in A tier. James and the Giant Peach. Also don't remember it that well. I remember it being pretty good. But since it's my tier list, and I only remember select parts of this film, well, I was gonna say B tier, but then I remember that Roald Dahl was a prick, and he didn't like this film, so it's going to go in A tier. Hunchback of Notre Dame, that might go in God tier. It might go in D tier for damnation, because this was the first Disney movie to use the word damnation. It's S tier or God tier. We're gonna leave it in S tier. I mean, fucking, it belongs this high. I can't put Hunchback in. Is absolutely God. We got one person saying Hunchback is God. How do I feel about it? Shark tier is easy. Jews, it's not gonna get that high. Fine. We're going to put. Okay. Wax. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to put Hunchback in S tier. And the worse I feel about it, and the more time passes, and the worse I feel about it, the more likely later on we'll just bump it to God tier. It is a wildly good film. For no other reason than the fact that, like, You know how, like, so many movies are like, learn about love, and then they end up together? This movie does that, but then they don't end up together. And that's a good thing, honestly. That is understandable, Wax. I hope I'm able to... I hope I bump it up before you get here. I legitimately consider it one of the few good Christian movies, because I was talking about this earlier, because Count Frollo was like, I'm doing this for God, but meanwhile, I forget the captain's name, him, Esmeralda, and Quasimodo are the only characters actually kind of heeding to that creed. Didn't they put Jesus in Kingdom Hearts because of this movie? Anyway, Mulan. You want to know something? Mulan gets put up in S tier. Mulan gets put up in S tier for a couple reasons. His name is Phoebus. Captain Phoebus. He was returned from the wars. He's supposed to help Count Frollo, but Count Frollo is a dipshit, so... Mulan is S tier for a couple reasons. First off... being the only transgender movie that Disney has made. Yeah. Mulan might be the best LGBT representation on this list, and Disney wildly didn't intend for that to happen. Shang is bi, bare minimum. And also, again, at this point, think about this. We are currently going through Disney's discography specifically, right? And remember how I was talking around the middle section of the movies getting samey? Mulan takes that and it turns it on its head. Because it's a musical with fucking stellar songs through, like, the first act of the movie, and then they see war and death and, like, decapitated children, and then they stop singing for the rest of the movie. And that's a legitimately amazing piece of direction, especially for the medium it's in. And that's what puts it in S tier. I feel like certain things keep it from being put all the way in God tier, but it gets pretty close. Yeah. Well, Kingfisher, that's because you're talking about the original source material. On the flip side, the Disney live-action version managed to be less accurate to, like, to historical Japan than this version, because, like, one of the things I can think off the top of my head is they measure things in feet, which was not a thing in historical Japan. Yes, the song just stops again, which you might realize it then, but you don't realize the rest of the movie. There's no more singing in a movie that was a musical. Oh, it's China. I'm sorry. It is China. My bad. I'm getting heated, and I forgot my countries. But yeah, they managed to be. I mean, feet weren't a thing in Japan. But that's the kind of mistakes the remake makes. And then, like, you know, was a thing, you know, and like Kingfisher said, the original does its own things that maybe aren't as good. So Mulan is S tier. Fantasia 2000, also S tier. So Fantasia was never the original Fantasia. I don't think was ever going to make it this high, even if we are like, okay, we won't count the racist part, and we'll give it a couple more points, because this movie takes that original concept, which was always meant to be reiterated upon in its inception. It was meant to be a film that gets redone over and over, with new pieces of art added, and this is the first time they followed up on it. And not only does it keep the idea of, like, keeping some of the segments for a re-show, like Sorcerer's Apprentice and what have you, but it also adds new ones with new animation that are the city segment, the whales, like, have a good night, Paula. Yes, and even if that was impractical, this iteration on that idea is really well done. and also, so on top of having Mickey return as Sorcerer's Apprentice, they have Donald do Noah's Ark, which is set to the graduation march. Because the graduation march wasn't originally supposed to be the graduation march, it just became that. Should do on a decade. That I can somewhat agree with you, Kingfisher, for a couple reasons at this point. So yeah, Fantasia 2000 gets S tier because it's a very artsy film, but still really enjoyable for a lot of reasons, and it is a much better realization of that original concept than the original iteration. Tarzan, also S tier. I wanna know, can you show me? I wanna know about the people like me. Bug's Life. We're going rapid fire here. Bug's Life is C tier. Well, classism. Bug's Life can be B tier. Because honestly, in terms of Golden Age Pixar, specifically, Renaissance Disney, Golden Age Pixar, Bug's tier is probably like maybe the lowest movie. Yeah, B for Bug's Life. But Hopper is legitimately a really well done villain. The way they take him down is great. The lesson about fucking class structure. So we will put it a bit higher because of that. B for Bug's Life. It's best when he's making music for Disney. Accurate. Toy Story 2. Better than the original Toy Story. The fucking Al. Al is such a much better ASMR Woody moment. Al and Stinky Pete, which is fun to say. A better, like, a better villain than Sid ever was. What was I thinking of? Also, I just kind of generally like the narrative. I feel like the narrative kind of plays more into the whole toy idea than Toy Story 1 did, and you don't have to worry about Woody and Buzz being pissed at each other for the entire film. And I like that. This introduces Jesse, like the character. I can't separate the characters that were introduced in this film, and that's saying something because, again, this was the sequel, not the original. So, S tier. Emperor's New Groove, also S tier. We're not even going to talk about it. If you don't know why this movie is S tier, you need to go watch it. If you don't know why this movie is, if you do know why this movie is S tier, you also need to go watch it. Hey everyone, you want to go watch The Emperor's New Groove? Maybe the funniest movie on this entire list? Yeah. Like, this needs no explanation. The Tigger movie. Oh, accidentally. The Tigger movie. Tigger movie kind of does what Goofy movie was going for, but a little toned down, and it doesn't really add any new characters. T.I. double gutter, and I do love Tigger. And honestly, I will give it this, because of the Winnie the Pooh movies following the original, I like that it manages to separate itself immediately, because it uses, like, most Winnie the Pooh movies are from the perspective of Winnie the Pooh. This movie immediately goes from, like, taking a scene that's very similar, a homage to how Disney opened the original film, and goes, no, and then, like, Tigger takes over. And again, this was theatrically released. I'm gonna, honestly, we're gonna give it an A. We're gonna give it an A, because I think it is done well. Not as well as Goofy movie, obviously, but keeping in mind with the kind of animated movies coming later, I think this is better done than a lot of them, including later Winnie the Pooh films. So it's gonna stay right up here. I think that one's just the TV show, because they had a Winnie the Pooh TV show for a while at Kingfisher, and it was pretty good. Monsters Inc. Monsters Inc. goes in... it's not... It's not God, so it's S or A. We're gonna put it in A. Like, it's it's really good. It's like a high A. But I just don't feel like it's a cool concept, you know? Because I would argue the concept is in the background, you know? As opposed to Toy Story, where it's framing the entire narrative. Monsters Inc. whole thing is like, they're the monsters in your closet, but that's their day job, right? But that's like basically an aside. They're not doing that the whole film. That's like the background. And then the rest of the film happens and it's really cool. But, you know, I don't think there's anything that really puts it necessarily up. The intro is great. I love the intro. I love the 2D jazzy intro. I love the art direction, but just in general, I wouldn't put this movie as high as our S tiers for right now. Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch goes in S tier. If anything, for art direction, for plot, for art direction, for the TV show spinoff, for the advertising campaign, for the movie, I'd say, the only thing that keeps Lilo and Stitch from going into God tier is that I think the God tier is so far filled up with movies that I think are, like, they take advantage of animation some way, except maybe for Hunchback, which could be live action, but it's just great, so it gets God tier for that. For the sandwich, yeah. And just Lilo and Stitch doesn't quite reach that level, which I would argue is the general category for the S tier, right? Like, they're wildly good films, but they don't necessarily take animation to a certain level that I'd be like, these are important, they're cultural, fucking nothing. I'd watch these on top of every other film in existence. Lilo and Stitch doesn't go quite that far. It gets pretty close. Yeah. Just they're doing live action Lilo and Stitch, and they shouldn't. But I would argue it's just like, this doesn't necessarily do something with animation outside of the aliens, obviously. That would elevate it to God tier. But the art direction in portraying Hawaii and Lilo and Nani as native Hawaiians is amazing, and as such, that's kind of what helps get it S tier. I don't like to. Oh, you're talking about the voice actor. I thought you were about to tell me that Gone 2 had legitimate ties to Static Shock. Atlantis. This is the first one where I haven't seen it in a while, but it also goes into S tier. I'm not going to stay too long on that because, again, I haven't seen it in a while. Return to Neverland. I thought this was direct to DVD. I thought I have seen this movie and I remember this movie. I thought it was direct to DVD. We're going to put it. It's going to go in B or C. You know what? We're going to put it in B to really separate it from its predecessor, which was far more racist. So, you know, that's the best, because I do remember this well. But like, have you seen a Peter Pan film where it's supposed to be like a follow-up and like a kid doesn't believe in Peter Pan? That's this film. So it gets higher because it has really good animation that's on par with the original, and it's not racist. But it can't really reach for anything higher than that. Brother Bear. I'm gonna put Brother Bear in A, because again, we're getting into films I don't remember super well. I remember a good chunk of Brother Bear, really well animated. I remember the plot somewhat well. I remember the key plot points. No, Brother Bear's good, but It can't go above or next to Tarzan. Other Phil Collins movie. Should we put it in B for Brother Bear? Does Brother Bear just naturally belong with this face? Okay, we're gonna put it in B for Brother Bear. B. Okay. You know, I'm gonna trust your judgment on that. Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo, A or S tier. I think Finding Nemo goes into S tier. For a 3D animated movie that came out as early as Finding Nemo did, this movie looks really good. I also think it manages to do that kind of thing, you know, that A side, B side thing with Nemo in the dentist office and Marlin on his way to rescue him. I think they do that pretty well. Dory's great. Dory's better than Ellen DeGeneres. It's pretty good. So, good art direction. Really, I like the atmospheric music it has going a lot of the time. Much more low-key than a lot of these Disney films. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's fair, Kingfisher. And again, you remember it better than me, and that is largely what I remember, so that's fair. I was gonna give it higher because of Phil Collins, but... So yeah, Finding Nemo's S. Incredibles. Incredibles. Incredible. Like... Incredibles might get God tier because it's the best Fantastic Four movie to ever exist. Okay. No, not everyone knows it isn't. First off, thick. Second off, Edna Mode. It is, yeah. Cause what child's movie depicts cheating and divorce as good, and midlife crises as good as Incredibles does? Samuel L. Jackson. This movie, I would argue this movie you could argue it's better than like Iron Man. Iron Man 1, I'm saying. Which is like, some people argue that's still the best the MCU has to offer. Exactly. I didn't realize it was about that for so long. And honestly, speaking of the MCU, you know what this does with animation? Are like one of our big criteria for God tier here. That's kind of important. It makes the superpowers look natural. Fucking Elastigirl doesn't blink out of existence and become a computer-generated woman when she uses her powers. She just uses them because she's animated. Dash has really great bouts of super speed that look natural. Violet just disappears and it doesn't look like a green screen. So, much like Hunchback of Notre Dame, it feels like it deserves to be here for the writing. For the animation, you could argue it's just the superpowers and robot design and all that kind of stuff in general deserves it. Edna Mode, the really almost all the characters in this movie are memorable. There's probably like 12 characters in total in this movie, counting background characters, and you can probably remember them all. Fucking Dark. Do y'all remember fucking Gazer Beam? How he's dead? How he's dead, but he got so close to beating Syndrome that while he was dying, he carved a message into brick wall with his superpowers. A legitimately super cool use of superpowers for the next superhero to find them. Incredibles is God tier, both to represent Pixar at its peak as a whole, and for so many reasons we just went over. Piglet's a big movie. We're gonna put that in B tier. I know, like what I just said. I'm gonna be honest. I think the rest of the Winnie the Pooh movies are going to go in B tier because they're not as good as the original or Tigger movie, and they're all pretty much summed up as something happens, Winnie the Pooh gang goes on an adventure to do a thing. Is it because you thought... I think Wax wanted Piglet's movie to be... Okay. We will move Piglet's big movie up one. No. We will move Piglet up to A tier. Piglet will officially be in the very good category. Yes. And I will do this for one reason. Because this is the only other Winnie the Pooh movie to focus on another character. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to skip a movie we have down here real quick just to bring this up. Pooh's Heffalump movie. I remember it. It's pretty charming. It's not as good as the other ones. So it goes in B tier. Okay. Are you all ready for something I won't be taking notes on? I had to skip this so we could get Heffalump movie out of the way. It's the boy you've been waiting for. It is the movie that I made God. This is the movie I made God tier for. This is a movie I knew. I was like, we can't just lump all these in S tier. This one has to go above that. Treasure Planet. Treasure Planet goes into God tier. For writing, for adaptation, a unique adaptation of Treasure Island, for art direction. Remember how, I forget who, remember how someone was like, walk into an animation school, ask about Lion King, everyone will go nuts. I actually saw that happen multiple times with Treasure Planet. You'd be wrong for that, Kingfisher. I'm not taking notes. Treasure Planet is better than Atlantis for several reasons. The way you could walk into any room in my art school and yell Treasure Planet and everyone would lose their fucking minds. It was truly a phenomenon. This movie deserves so much better than it's gotten. It is a masterpiece. It is it's better than The Godfather. I don't care. I haven't seen The Godfather. I'll say that and I'll die on that hill. I don't care. This movie rocks. Also, Juice, fucking the it is better than Godfather. Also, Juice, this movie has the captain. Like, Atlantis probably has more pretty ladies, but it has the captain, and that also makes you a furry, and that's great. So, Chicken Little. Chicken Little goes in A tier. I like Chicken Little. He's a summon in Kingdom Hearts. Cars. Cars goes in B tier, because it's probably a bit better than Cars 2. They say the words hillbilly hell. It's alright. And there are definitely worse movies. Valiant. I remembered this movie existed while making this list. It is our first F tier. This is what an F tier looks like. The things I remember about Valiant, which are few, make me want to vomit. It goes in F tier. I remember Bird Woman with tits. I remember Bird Woman throwing up into another person's mouth. I remember World War II. Or was it World War One? It was one of them. It was pretty bad. The Wild goes in C tier. Because it's just it's off-brand Madagascar, and whether or not you agree with that, it's still off-brand Madagascar, and Madagascar isn't going to go much higher. Meet the Robinsons. We're back to good movies. See, this is what I was talking about. All those movies came out after Toy Story because they all thought that 3D movies were a winner now. Like, Remember how I just talked... It's going in A tier. Remember how I just talked about Treasure Planet and then we had to talk about those movies? That was history. They made Treasure Planet and then they made Valiant and Cars 2 in the wild. So I'm angry and I'm gonna keep being angry, and I don't care if you like the wild. If you like Valiant, then you need help. But if you like the wild, I'm sorry, but I'm angry. Up doesn't get S tier. I mean, doesn't get God tier. We'll put it into S tier. The Wild was Disney, Kingfisher. And the fact you knew about the Wild but didn't know it was Disney. That's what I'm saying. Up isn't gonna get God tier, because we all know about Dead Wife. And the movie does great things following that, but like that initial like personal shotgun to the chest. Yeah, exactly. That's like the first 10 minutes of the film. It's not the entire film. It's the setting to get you, because like they're doing a really good job at setting up Carl as a character, without needing to like have him be an asshole throughout the entire movie, only to explain later. So that's good, but that doesn't mean that emotion, that really powerful emotion, is the entire movie. That's just what it starts you with. You're right, Kingfisher. You're absolutely right. And the rest of the film is really good, but I wouldn't say it's just like, okay, God tier. I'll admit it. It's close. Honestly, it's closer because of what's his face. I need to look up real quick. Russell. It's closer because of Russell, because clearly Russell doesn't have a lot of in the way of parentage in his life, and then Carl, who is a very fucking bitter old man, is forced to look after him against his own will, and they both manage to help each other out in that way. That helps. That is, I think, more the emotional core of the movie than Dead Wife, and it's well animated and super cool, and it has a cool villain. But I wouldn't say anything really bumps it up into God tier. If you haven't seen I would say Meet. Also, fucking, I didn't even talk about Meet the Robinsons. Go watch that. I'm not even gonna try. Go watch Meet the Robinsons. If you need to know anything about Meet the Robinsons, Act 3 becomes Terminator 2, and that's all I'll say. If you haven't seen anything in or above our A tier, you need to. Whoever you are, I would recommend that completely. Next movie is Bolt. I forgot about Bolt for a while, but you know what? Bolt's pretty good. Bolt gets an A. I feel like the last few were like somber coming of age, like Meet the Robinsons, Up, Bolt. They're all very kind of like more somber, like coming of age movies and everything. And Bolt has a damning criticism of Hollywood. So I haven't seen it in a while, but it's pretty good. Maybe, but with a dog. It just misses a few things, a few like emotional gut punches to bring it up into A tier, like Up has, which is why it's next to Meet the Robinson right here. Are we about to hit Wall-E? We do have Wall-E right here. Wall-E. Wall-E is A or S tier. It's close. It's close. On one hand, I almost feel like it misses a little something to bring into S tier. Like, the movie is pretty simple, but that also kind of works for it. We're gonna leave Wall-E in S tier. It has really cool robot designs. We all know, yeah, you're right. It has cool robot designs. It has post-apocalyptic Earth. Wall-E is almost just like Hope Core, both because Wall-E gets a girlfriend, and then also because then humanity reclaims Earth after destroying it. And it's just like, oh my goodness, the pure power of the human and robot spirit. So, even though it's kind of simple, which makes me want to bring it down, it's still really good. It deserves an S tier. It's pretty. Fucking look at this screenshot. That's what the movie looks like. Ratatouille goes into S tier. Ratatouille almost goes into S tier because of like the same reason Mulan. Do you ever watch Ratatouille and notice that like for like the parts of the second and third act, Remy stops talking altogether. He stops talking both diegetically and narratively because he has no reason to, because there's no one around him who can understand him. Like, it's cool for several reasons. Honestly, it's kind of my personal favorite Pixar film, even maybe above Incredibles, but I can recognize Ratatouille might not go up into God tier. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, no, for sure. Like, that's what I was saying. Robot design across the board for WALL-E is amazing. There are giant WALL-Es later in the film, and they're labeled something differently, and they're super cool. Cars 2 goes into C. I don't need to tell you why that's the case. Princess and the Frog was one of the last, if not the last, 2D animated Disney film with a princess plot, and it's pretty good. Putting that one in S tier. Toy Story 3, probably far more emotional than Toy Story 2. And the whole thing with like the plot being tied to the timing, you know, because the kids who watched Toy Story 1 would be in or graduating college. Yeah, New Orleans is great, music is great, all that kind of stuff. Fucking Dr. What is it, like Fastalia or something like that? Great villain, I can't pronounce the name. Hell. Frogs. But yeah, I like Toy Story 3 is definitely more emotional. I just personally, are you ready? I just don't feel like it's very at the end of the day, it's really easily summed up. Honestly, it's really well executed. But like if you've seen the first ones, like, you know that the toys are afraid of being left behind by the kid who's playing with them. And that's the third movie, and it's emotional. And they go to a daycare, and we get some cool new toys. Lotso is a great villain who has even better plushies of himself available at stores. But I think it's on par or better than the original Toy Story, but not quite as good as Toy Story 2 IMO. Tangled is S tier. Tangled is S tier because it's the 50th film Disney made, and it's also fucking the first one where the princess and her rescuer has, you know, chemistry. It's well animated. It has fantastic. It has the villain can be like we've had evil stepmothers before. Throwing plans are lethal. It made a horse hot, but. Like, and at last I see the light. It has all this going for it, and the villain is an abusive parent. Like, we've had evil parents before. This one is an abusive parent. Let's make things so clear. This isn't an evil parent. They are evil, but they're not an evil parent. They are an abusive parent through and through. The more you realize it, the more insidious the movie becomes, and the better it becomes. So, yeah, the kingdom they go to is named Corona, and that aged amazingly. So, S tier. Winnie the Pooh, which is just called Winnie the Pooh. We're gonna put that. I just realized I put Cars down here, so we're gonna put. Cars is gonna go to C tier for Cars. And Winnie the Pooh is gonna go to B tier for Boo Bear because it's okay. Like, this is what I was talking about, right? Piglet and Tigger movie, they keep the vibe of Winnie the Pooh, but they focus more on the specific characters. I almost feel like this is trying to be a new Winnie the Pooh, and it doesn't really succeed at that. It's good. It's a 2D animated film. It actually keeps the style of the original film pretty well, but I wouldn't say it's as charming. And that's what got Winnie the Pooh to A tier. So, we're gonna bring this one down a bit. Brave. I like Brave. Brave goes not to B tier, to S tier for Brave. Wreck-It Ralph. Wreck-It Ralph. Wreck-It Ralph has a really good villain and a decently well done premise. So we're gonna put it in A tier. Monsters University goes in C tier. Because it makes several contradictions to its source material. It's not really, it doesn't really do. Remember how it was like the whole monster thing is the background of this and not really the main like setting like Toy Story is? Yeah, this does nothing. This is nothing. This could have been a fucking a movie with Jonah Hill, live action Jonah Hill movie would have been the same, probably. It's okay. But the fact that it makes contradictions to its source material means that it's not going to get very high, especially when the source material is better. So, Big Hero 6, B for Dead Brother, A for Live Robot. It's pretty good. It's not like, honestly, A tier is pretty good for it because it means there's an S tier right here in between it and The Incredibles, which, if I'm gonna be honest, does the animated superhero thing much better. Big Hero 6 is great. Baymax is great. Oh, I'd be down for that, Kingfish. We should do that we should do like just shorts in general, kind of, and do Fantasia and the Pixar ones. That would be good. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Big Hero 6 is pretty good, but it's better than source material from what I hear. But I wouldn't say it ascends into S tier and definitely isn't on par with The Incredibles. Frozen. I liked Frozen when it came out. It's weird. The brain rot installed in children. We're gonna put an A tier. Inside Out. Also pretty good. Is it as good as the rest of our A tiers? Probably. Inside Out gets an A. Wreck-It Ralph 2. This is going in D tier. This. We're not even going to talk about the movie for a minute. There couldn't have been a stupider idea. I can't stress that enough. How this got from inception to production? Insane. They had to use the internet. I guarantee you, a few people making this film used the internet at some point in between the concept and creating the film, and the fact they didn't tell everyone to stop making the film is insane. So, putting Ralph Breaks the Internet down in D. Encanto's like the best movie Disney's made since fucking, like, I don't know. Let's go through the Disney films real quick. Probably, honestly, am I brave enough to say that Encanto's better than Tangled? I might be brave enough to say that. You know what? I'll just say that's better. It's the best thing they've done since Tangled, at least. Bare minimum. Bare minimum. Kanto fucking rocks. Songs are great. Its plot is great. Everyone wants the grandma to die, but I was okay with that. I know the ending, they wrap it up kind of sloppy, but you're going through a lot of complicated emotions, and the film's already so long, so like, gotta wrap it up here. So, Kanto gets an S tier. Finding Dory gets a B tier, because it's a B movie. Moana gets an A tier, because it's pretty good. Looking forward to Moana 2. We're Oh wait, we're not done Disney films. We got... Okay, I just realized. So to wrap up Disney films, we have Lightyear. Lightyear goes in F tier. This movie is so beyond dog shit. It's the same thing as Ralph Breaks the Internet of how did this get made, except like wildly more. Do you want to know something? The cat dies at some point. My family texted me. But anyway, yeah, this buddy cat, this was thinking of this buddy cat right here. He dies in the movie, and it is, no one cares. No one in the movie cares. I don't care. No one cares. And I am, by the way, it's not like die come back. No, he dies. He dies on screen. Like, there is a bit more to it, but he does die. And I don't care. It has a stupid plot twist. The animated series and home DVD movie that was supposed to be this is infinitely better, and it stars Patrick Warburton. So this gets an F tier. We're going to put, I mean, Luca in S. Luca gets an S for the same reason Mulan gets an S. It's a gay Disney movie, whether or not the producers want it to be. Soul also gets an S because it has good art direction, and honestly, as far as like a movie dealing with the afterlife goes, this one's pretty damn fucking good. I'm not gonna lie to you. Find meaning of life. It ain't half bad. Prince of Egypt. Prince of Egypt might get. Does Prince of Egypt get God? Do we want to put Prince of Egypt right next to Hunchback of Notre Dame? Yeah, yeah. Soul has like an afterlife. Soul weirdly leaves its afterlife open-ended while also being like very well explained. It's weird, and you should watch it. Probably would give this movie an S tier. Well, so that's part of it though. Kingfisher, I understand where you're coming from. Is anyone with a religious trauma might put this lower because of that. That's all. I wasn't even expecting that. That's also fair. But I would argue it's good. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, this is a good Christian movie, not even necessarily because of anything it has to do with Christianity or morals. It's just a good movie. It's a good movie adapted from the Bible. And it's fantastically fucking animated. It's gonna go in God tier. Road to El Dorado goes in S tier. Because the lady's pretty. Shrek! We all know the memes. Shrek is gonna go in A tier. And do you know why Shrek goes in A tier? Because Shrek is pretty good. But do you know what's better than Shrek? Shrek 2 is better than Shrek, so Shrek 2 gets an S tier for Shrek. That is fair, Kingfisher. Considering they're from the same studio, because we're getting to DreamWorks now. Those are the only two animated... Well, not the... They had Spirit, but I don't remember a fucking thing about Spirit. Other than that, everyone wants to fuck the horse. But, like, if you're tired of one, it's completely reasonable to be like, give me the other one now. Let's see. Oh my god, I can't believe how close we are to getting done. Like, I have to wrap it up decently soon, and we have a good chunk of movies left, but we are getting through them. But yeah, I think for Shrek being a dissection of fairy tales that is pretty well written, and has some good music. Let's not lie. We know the memes, but Shrek does have good music. The animation hasn't aged the best. There could be better animation for this film, honestly. But Shrek 2 basically does all that and is better. Like, Shrek 2, you know when you're watching a sequel and you're like, why isn't it just the first one but better? Shrek 2 is that. Shrek 2 is, I am the first one but better. Kind of like The Rescuers Down Under, except this... yeah, I'm willing to... Even though I don't like this era of people just making 3D movies to make 3D movies, I'd say Shrek 2 is better than Rescuers Down Under 2. So... Chicken Run. I remember Chicken Run. Chicken Run's pretty fucking good. Is it S tier? Probably not. It's going in A tier. Shark Tale. Shark Tale goes straight to D. I'm not even... Madagascar. Juice, I'll put it in F tier. I will put Shark Tale in F tier. I will put Shark Tale in F tier. It can go in F tier for fish if you want it to. It's not even... Do you want to know something? It has Jack Black in it. That's not nearly the best animated film he's been in. Okay? Shark Tale should be enough. I'm gonna be merciful right now, Wax, and say it deserves to be in D. Madagascar is gonna go in B. Because it's okay. Madagascar... It might go in C. Honestly, here's the problem with Madagascar. Here's the thing with it. Is I like the penguins more. Oh, I'm not alone in this, right? Does everyone like the penguins of Madagascar more than basically the rest of the entire main cast of Madagascar? Like, that's about where I'm at. I'm gonna put it in B. Because 2 is probably worse. The movie was expendable. No, The Expendables isn't an animated movie. Next up is B movie. B movie is in a weird place. B movie should either get God tier or it should get F tier. It should get one of those. B movie should get one of those. Which one depends on the day of the week. F tier. Here's what we're gonna do. B movie is getting a B. No, here's the compromise we're going to make. To be in B tier. Well, no. See, that's the thing. That is the thing. We are going to put. We are going for the complete oddity that B movie is, I'm going to put it in B tier. B movie goes in B tier. And we will not look at it again. Turbo goes in F tier. I fucking hate Turbo. Who cares about Turbo? Turbo is fucking awful. Remember I was like, Ratatouille is S tier, and if it was just like my favorite Pixar movie, I'd put it in God tier. Turbo is opposite Ratatouille. It is awful. I despise it. It goes in F tier. Don't watch Turbo. It's bad. Remember when I said, when people were like, let's watch the F tier movies, ha ha ha. No, because look at these 3 movies right now. I'd rather eat a piece of glass. All 3, maybe Valiant. Maybe because I don't remember Valiant, I'd be willing to traumatize myself again. But I remember these 2 and they're dog shit. So they're going in F tier. Wallace and Gromit, Curse of the Were-Rabbit. That deserves at least an A tier. I don't remember it much, but for unique animation and a pretty good plot and funny writing, I feel like it deserves to be right next to Chicken Run. That was Disney. Was Turbo Disney? No, we've moved on past Disney Juice. Yeah. If nothing else, Wallace and Gromit deserves to be an A tier for the same reason Winnie the Pooh is. It's very delightful. But yeah, no. Yeah, Turbo is awful. Leave it down there. We have a lot of A tiers, but honestly, like, for the amount of, like, kind of mediocre mid animated movies there are, I'm pretty happy with our A tier. Like, A tier and above, like I said, if you haven't seen these, go watch them. Yeah, that's the other thing, right? it being a Wallace and Gromit movie, period, is kind of helps bump it up, because those two are legitimately actually pretty good. Like they're some good cartoons, and and so this being their singular feature film makes it worth an A tier alone. Like, if you're only watching movies and this is the only Wallace and Gromit you get, then it should be an A tier. Kung Fu Panda. Kung Fu Panda is going... I'm having a hard time... Kung Fu Panda... Yeah. Well then, here's the thing. Let's just skip right to it, right? We have to be real about this, right? If Kung Fu Panda is getting S tier, Kung Fu Panda 2 is going in God tier. We really can't skip over it, can we? Let me say this with my chest. Okay? Let me not mince words. The feature animated film that goes by the name Kung Fu Panda 2 is one of the greatest films of all time. Period. I saw this at a party one time, and I didn't care about anything else at that party or for the rest of the day. It was really hard to interact with people. Remember what I just said about Shrek and Shrek 2? This is the same thing, except if Shrek deserved to be an S tier. So Kung Fu Panda 2 gets God tier. Kung Fu Panda is amazing because it has pretty good comedy. Not the best comedy, but pretty good comedy. Really good animation, including super well choreographed fight scenes that will surprise you for a children's movie. Good writing that will blow your mind for a children's movie. This movie is about a dictator who kills Poe's family when he was born, leaving him with latent PTSD he has to work through in order to achieve nirvana and better himself. Okay? That's the plot. And it does it really well. It's also why fucking Shark Tale is down here in detail, because yeah, Jack Black is in that too. But we're not gonna put that anywhere near these two films. Over the Garden Wall. That goes in B tier. Not B tier, it goes in B tier. Over the Garden Wall is pretty funny. Is it a good film? No. Is it a good animated film? Not really. But it is kind of fun to watch. Oh, this is Over the Hedge. Over synonyms. They're literally, I know they are, but those sentences mean the same thing. They mean the exact same thing. A hedge is a garden wall, and a garden wall is a hedge. And to be clear, Over the Garden Wall would get S tier, but Over the Hedge gets B tier. Exactly. Thank you, Mead. You clown. Yeah, but there is a funny squirrel that has super speed. Okay. Shrek the Third goes in D tier. Shrek the Third goes in D tier. Megamind goes in S tier. I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy leaving Megamind in S tier. I'm not gonna lie to you. I know some people are gonna vie for God tier. But I think that at the end of the day, what kind of carries Megamind is its script and good writing. It has some decent character designs and good animation, or maybe even flip that, good character designs and decent animation. But at the end of the day, it can't get into God tier because I don't think most of the things exclusive to Megamind are exclusive to animation. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. It's a phenomenal movie. But at the end of the day, there's nothing about it being an animated movie makes me want to put it into God tier, and I'm sorry about that. I know a lot of people are going to be upset about that, but that's about where I'm putting it. Also, you know, looking at the S tier, I want to be clear. All of these are in S tier for very separate reasons. Megamind is not here for the same reason Cusco's here. Cusco isn't here for the same reason Fantasia 2000 is here. You know? I want to be clear. These all get here on their own merits above the rest of them. Like, the A tier is littered with a couple movies I would consider samey, which is why they don't get up into S tier. Madagascar 2 is not as good as Madagascar 1. So it goes into C tier. How to Train Your Dragon is S tier. Puss in Boots, the original, I'm sorry, I haven't seen the sequel, is honestly, Puss in Boots is pretty good. And I want to be clear about something. If I had seen Puss in Boots 2, and at some point I need to, that would probably jump from A tier into God tier. But having watched Puss in Boots 1 and remembering it decently well, it's pretty good. It's not bad. Probably not nearly as good as the original, but not bad. The Croods. I remember liking The Croods, but honestly, it's probably just going right back next to Over the Hedge. As is Madagascar 3, because honestly, I probably like it more than Madagascar 1, but I don't know if it necessarily deserves to be any higher than, than the original. Rise of the Guardians is A tier or S tier? I know people fucking love this film. It's a pretty good film. I've heard it's based on a series of books. I'm kind of sad we only got one of these and not a series on its own. I'm gonna put it in S tier. Yeah. I'm gonna put it in S tier. No. Here's my problem. Okay? Give me a second. I'm getting more water and I've been talking for hours. My ass hurts so bad.
Jack Frost is hot.
Oh my lord. Why do you only appear when I disappear? Anyway. At the end of the day, I feel like what I would give this movie points for, more than anything, is originality. But knowing it's based on something, I can't give it that can't give it that much credit. So I'm gonna bring it down to A tier. It's pretty good. A lot of people. This is cult classic right here. So, and that cult would say S tier, bare minimum. But not being in that cult, I say A tier, pretty good. Kung Fu Panda. Oh no. I moved my thing by accident. Kung Fu Panda 3 is going to go next to Kung Fu Panda 1. It's pretty good, but it's not the greatest movie of all time, which is Kung Fu Panda 2. It's alright. I think after this we're done with Nope, we still got some more DreamWorks left. Pirates Band of Mischief. I remember bits of this. This is another one of the movies, kind of like Pinocchio, honestly, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, that's weirdly adult. Honestly, these are going into 8. Like, so remember, I said this about A tier. A tier is filled with movies I can consider a little samey at certain points, and this is like grouped in with, because I think it's from the same studio too, with Chicken Run, Wallace and Gromit. Like, they have the same sense of humor. This one's a little more adult. It actually does pirate stuff pretty well. Like, a good amount of people, of films just wear pirates as an aesthetic and don't do anything with the actual, like, you know, idea of pirates. And with that in mind, Pirates Band's a Misfit does manage to do some good stuff with it. So it gets up there, even if I don't remember nearly enough of it. How to Drain Your Dragon 2. It's probably better than the first one. I haven't seen it in a while. I do remember good chunks of it. It's not God tier though. I'm sorry. I cannot in good conscience put this in God tier. It's really, really good. But it's just kind of, it's missing that little bit. It's missing that little bit. To really bump it up into God. Yeah. I mean, I think One Piece, even in this late hour, still has its piratey moments. I can think of a couple from the last major arc, but it's that I would say Pirates Bands of Mischief is more piratey on several levels, for sure. Surf's Up. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm tempted to put Surf's Up in A tier, but honestly, I put a lot of really, really, really good movies in A tier, and Surf's Up is good, but it's not that good. It's better than Madagascar, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna put it a whole tier above Madagascar. Is that... Oh, I forgot Happy Feet. Too late for that. Hoodwinked. Hoodwinked is going in the B tier. Hoodwinked is going in the B tier with B movie. In fact, we're gonna bring these just to make it so clear. We are going to put B movie all the way. We are going to put the B tier down here. We're gonna make it purple, like God tier, to confuse people. I like Hoodwinked. It's fucking weird. Ice Age. C tier. C tier. Ice Age 2, C tier. Robots. I'm almost tempted to put Robots in A tier, but honestly, there's just... It kind of has the same vibe as Surf Up, which you can kind of see from their poster here. And thinking of the specific scene-to-scene moments in Robots is what kind of brings it down to be a B movie for me. Despicable Me. B movie. Despicable Me 2. B movie. Robots is biblically important. Robots is pretty good, and it does have Robin Williams. But unlike like Aladdin has Robin Williams, and it's good around that. So Robots is quirky and has Robin Williams, so I can't do much about it. I don't really care for Ice Age, so it's not going very high. Hotel Transylvania, F tier. No, we're not. I don't care about. It's not good. Really? Yeah, I don't care. Everyone likes Mavis. I don't like. Hotel Transylvania exists so that Adam Sandler can break into the children's movie market, and that's all it. That's all it is. Its animation is kind of fun, but I remember watching it twice, and I didn't like it. Well, here's the thing, Juice. I haven't seen Leo, because wasn't that on Netflix exclusively? But I've heard that's a good animated movie, and it is also an Adam Sandler vehicle, and they haven't made 6 Leos yet. So if I were to watch Leo right now and put it on this list, I guarantee you it'd be much higher than Hotel Transylvania for several reasons. But honestly, just the general plot and writing of this movie, it means that even a somewhat unique animation style isn't gonna save it. You know what has an animation style? No, there are much more than 3, Kingfisher. Let me tell you. I know. You know what has a similar animation style and is much funnier? Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Why did I put Despicable Me 1 and 2 in B? That's going in C. I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, I'd put these on the same level as Ice Age. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs goes in B. It's funny. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, on the other hand, is not nearly as good. So it's going in D. The SpongeBob movie goes in S. But there is listen, I'm not saying Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2 doesn't have its redeeming qualities, but overall, as a movie, it's not very good. SpongeBob might go in God tier. Do we put SpongeBob in God tier? Who here? Okay, chat. Who here says the Ocean Man belongs in God tier? I'm tempted to put SpongeBob in God tier. I'm decently close to put... SpongeBob movie is a really good movie. No. Kingfish, no. Oh, Lord in heaven, no. Not even close. Kingfisher, if you think SpongeBob movie is anything but an A, I mean anything but an S, then you are woefully misinformed. David Hasselhoff. Wax makes an amazing point. Wax makes maybe the greatest point. Wax, you have opened my eyes. You are so wildly correct. This movie deserves a tier in between S and God, and that of course is Neptune. And let me tell you why. The reason SpongeBob deserves to be so high is not just because in and of itself it is a fantastic movie, which does legitimately take advantage of the opportunities animation affords. Many people also see it as the true finale of SpongeBob, i.e., I believe there were 5 or so seasons before SpongeBob before this movie came out. Those seasons were directed and headed by Stephen Hillenburg, the original guy who made SpongeBob. He had a love of marine biology, which is why he made the show. A lot of everyone's like, you know how people are like seasons 1 through 9 of The Simpsons, etc., etc. Those first seasons of SpongeBob those are the golden eras. They are some of the best television. I'm not even gonna debate that. Those first seasons of SpongeBob up to the movie are some of the best things of television ever put on. They are the cartoons. There's no debate about this. They're the successor to Looney Tunes, however you want to see it. They are immaculate cartoons. And this movie was in essence the end of it, because even though the show is still continuing, it for a solid decade or more after it didn't have its original creator at the helm because he decided to leave after this movie. Also, Ocean Man is a fantastic way to end the movie. So it gets its own special tier, sandwiched in between S and God for that. For those reasons alone. The second SpongeBob movie is so this also actually had Stefan Hillenberg's involvement. But to me, it felt more like he was trying to make another season of the show rather than a movie. This feels like Sponge Out of Water feels like several episodes crammed together, and it's good? Question mark. But would I put it in S or God or next to the original SpongeBob movie? No. So it is A tier. It is good movie. This should shock fucking no one. Both Spider-Verse movies. Both of them are going in God tier. Here's the thing. I want to be like, if you're not a Spider-Man fan, how does this feel? Fuck it. But like, I don't know if anyone sees these movies and isn't a Spider-Man fan after it. I need you to understand, no matter how you feel about the live-action Spider-Man movies, like, I wouldn't argue any one of those are actually like a full adaptation of Spider-Man, okay? They have bits and pieces, but they are not necessarily Spider-Man as a whole. Like all the good parts of Spider-Man rolled into one. It has an amazing soundtrack, and it can only be done in animation. These are some of the best movies of all time. These and Kung Fu Panda 2 are some of the best movies of all time. I like, you know how people are like, this will kill a small Victorian child? When I watched the second Spider-Verse movie, I felt like I was the Victorian child. My brain was on fire. It was insanity, and it was the best form. It was like I don't do many drugs. It was like taking a lot of drugs, and I loved it. Okay. Would you like to know what the next few movies are? The Pokemon movies. Because I fucking love the Pokemon movies, and most of these got a theatrical release somewhere. The first Pokemon movie goes in... The first Pokemon... No. What? One of the Pokemon movies will go in God tier. The first... Here's the thing. I'm going to put the first one in A tier. It's good, and anyone who denies that is a fucking prude. But these movies go much higher. The second Pokemon movie, also A tier. No, we're not there yet. The third Pokemon movie. The third Pokemon movie is S tier. No, the third Pokemon movie is S tier. Pokemon Forever is also S tier. You make a... This is the thing, Kingfisher. You make good points, but at the end of the day, like, Mewtwo steals the show. There's no doubt about that, but he's not the whole movie. The whole movie is Ash and gang. And I wouldn't say it's, again, the art direction, choreography, and plot of the future Pokemon movies goes, I would argue, much harder. And I love... Are you good? I love Mewtwo waxing philosophical. But then I get to see fucking Ash fight Entei on the back of his Charizard in 4K, and I nut. So this one is going higher. I like the Darkrai movie, but we're gonna put it right next I'm gonna put Darkrai next to the first two, because it's good, but it's pretty self-contained. It's pretty, you know, it's really good, but it's not necessarily like, you know, it doesn't necessarily rise above those first ones. That being said, why did this highlight instead of selecting? Sir, oh my lord, my fucking computer's crashing. Computer, would you mind? Okay. Okay, no, not there. Sir, oh, I must have, I pressed on something by accident. Lucario and the Mystery of Mew. For everything that Pokemon represents, for art direction, for scale, for childhood, for furries, Luke, for Pokemon Lord of the Rings. You know what? I'm not gonna put it in God tier. But since we've opened up Neptune tier, it's gonna go right there. It's gonna go right there. It's real close. It's real close. But just to play it a little safe, right there. Now we get into just some like ones I thought of. Akira. Akira's God tier. Akira, I'd argue I don't even have that much of a personal attachment with it, but let me just say, if you've seen any good animated thing after this movie was released, then you have seen a part of Akira. Everything has an Akira slide. Everyone loves the Akira slide. I love the Akira slide. Have you seen Jordan Peele's Nope? You've seen the Akira slide. I heard this, go watch Super Eye Patch Wolf videos on this. This is this is a really good sci-fi movie, but the history around it enriches it to such a degree. This was made in a golden era of just kind of Japanese animation, where Japan was doing really well economically. And the children that had grown up on well animated, well, just animated. We don't have to say well animated. That's fair wax, but that's I mean, as someone who just likes movies and wants to appreciate them, I'm ranking them kind of on those even more than enjoyment. So if you want, here's the thing, Wax. I'm probably gonna shoot through these last ones and go to bed. So if you want to drop it in the Discord, yeah, that'd probably be the best idea, just so we can talk about it more later. But for a lot of reasons, it deserves to be here. I wanted to finish the story of like when it was made. Japan was in a really like economically prosperous period, right? There was a lot of money going around, and the children who had grown up on the classic animated properties were now finally getting in to the anime scene themselves in terms of production. So what you had here was a perfect storm of a movie that they were making that got a shit ton of money poured into it, and young people who were so beyond passionate about animation that they created what is, if for no other reason than just technique, one of the greatest animated films, one of the greatest films of all time. Which is why I will never get sick of the Akira slide, because it deserves its like, at the end of the day, I feel like the Akira slide is just like good animation. You get what I'm saying? Akira slide is the art of animation. People will put, like, if people have seen Akira, they put the Akira slide in there because they're like, that was well animated and I want to do good animation. If for nothing else, if not for story, if not for writing, music, anything else, Akira gets God tier because of I need to stress this legitimately because I love animation. Out of a list of 130 plus movies, Akira is animation. So it deserves the #1 spot in God tier. This isn't a movie, this is animation. So Akira gets #1 for that alone. Iron Giant gets God tier for its writing. For animation. Actually, was Iron Giant done by the same guy who made Thief and the Cobbler, which Pig mentioned at the top? A very similar reason. Like, I mean, it's same with Treasure Planet, in that this was a film made in a golden era of animation with passionate people and spectacular writing. Superman, absolutely. Fucking Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, best Spider-Man movie. Incredibles, best, Fantastic Four movie. Iron Giant, best Superman movie. It's like, oh, you're right. That's thinking of. Yes. Okay, so Kingfisher said that. Yeah, no, you are absolutely right. It's been a while since I've seen it. I do need to watch it again. Iron Giant, like, I need to take my own advice and watch this specific movie again. Iron Giant gets God tier. Ponyo! I don't remember much about Ponyo. Ponyo is the sole Ghibli film I've seen up to this point. If y'all know Ghibli films better than me, you let me know. I kind of... Actually, I know where Ponyo goes. Ponyo goes in Neptune. I'm really glad I made Neptune tier. No, the giant can be scary. Yeah. I know. It's a crime. I completely agree. No, that's the thing. Because I need to get more familiar with more Ghibli film. I know! Get off my nuts! Have you seen... This isn't even necessarily all the animated movies I've seen, Kingfisher, let alone animation. I'm sorry I've missed the work of Miyazaki. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. Anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in Neptune. Because I don't know if I necessarily want to put it all the way up to God for several reasons. Because I know it's not... I know people don't even necessarily consider it to be the best Ghibli film, even though many of them consider Ghibli to just be the best, like collection of animation in general. But... I don't want to put it below... I don't want to put it in S tier. I wanted to put it a little higher than that. Beatles Yellow Submarine. Remember how I said Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was a drug trip? So is this movie. It's going in A tier. I like the drug trip. There is a fucking... What's his name? He's the Nowhere Man. Jeremy Hillary Boob is his name. Look up Jeremy Hillary Boob. He's great. I like him. It has some Jeremy Hillary Boob PhD. This has some really unique animation. It's fucking out there. It has a decent at least selection of Beatles. At least you can watch the scenes without even having to listen to the music if you are one of the people who hate the Beatles. I think the music was at bare minimum okay, and the movie was pretty funky. So, A tier for Beatles. Batman, Return of the Joker. A or S. It's going in A or S. It's kind of hard because it doesn't super work as a standalone animated film. It is heavily working on, even more so than Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It is heavily working off of your knowledge of Batman, and even Batman Beyond. So that makes me want to drag it down more. It also, like, in terms of writing, it's okay. I love this film to death a lot. I love Batman Beyond. Batman Beyond is my Batman. But I think I'm comfortable leaving it in A for multiple reasons. Multiple reasons being that you probably won't get as much out of it if you're not a big Batman fan. On the other hand, Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Okay, this is perfect. We are going to have exactly 10. What was I thinking of? 10 God tiers. For a similar reason I wanted to put SpongeBob in God tier, Mask of the Phantasm managed to get there by taking one of the most famous pop culture characters of all time and making a fucking... Damn it. Okay, we're going to have 14 God tiers. I'm bad at math. Anyway, making a fucking stellar movie about it. This has... Because I'd argue part of what makes Batman Return of the Joker so good is that it has the cast from the animated series. And this movie is just that. And it manages to be a Batman movie that tells his origin story without actually being an origin story movie. It has Mark Hamill's Joker, but he's not the main antagonist. He is one of the characters in play. They introduce an original antagonist who is super compelling and fits really well into Batman's narrative. Some people, again, fucking best Spider-Man film, best Fantastic Four film, best Superman film, best Batman film. And when I say all those, there are periods after, and not animated, period. This is, and God rest Kevin Conroy. Happy Pride, everyone. This is a good fucking film. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. We're gonna add a new tier real quick. Oh wait, no, we'll leave it. We'll keep it God tier, because I was gonna be like, I'll make a special one for my favorite. No, my favorite animated movie, and one I undeniably think deserves God tier, thinks deserves more recognition than any other film on this list, is Redline. Redline is a completely hand animated sci-fi film from Takeshi Koike. It took 7 years to make and released in 2009 and bombed in the box office. It's probably the best film I've ever seen. Redline, to borrow from Super Eye Patch Wolf's video essay, if you don't care about racing, Redline is to racing what Dragon Ball Z is to Tai Chi. People turn their wheels and the world flips upside down. Drivers punch the gas and you get shotgun in the chest. They stretch and warp reality by hand in a way that rivals, if maybe surpasses, the Spider-Verse films on the same tier here. It is a tightly paced, well-written, deeply developed movie that has a world that you could take a glance at or spend 3 hours unlocking all the different web setup between the different characters, whether it be the fascist army who plays the bad guys, the 10 racers, I believe it's 10 or 12, racing in the red line, Sweet JP, Frisbee, Sonoshi. It is incredible. The first and third acts in their entirety are races, just the races. This film opens with the most bombastic, kinetic energy any film funky boy that any film could hope to open with. Every action film wishes it felt like this. It would be like crack cocaine. This is getting number one, by the way. It is insanity. You are taken through this race while JP is tweaking the hell out, trying to win, only for him to get into the red line, the ultimate race in the universe, on a technicality. And then the second act is spent building that up and delving into our characters and what each individual person has invested in winning the red line. Then the third act is the red line, and it is so fucking good. Lord in heaven. The soundtrack to this movie, remember how we put so many Disney movies so high because of music? The soundtrack to this movie is as long as the movie because all of the music is uniquely made for each scene, which you might not notice because there's so many motifs and themes used throughout the soundtrack that you might think they're reusing songs, but it's original tracks. And they fucking rule. I owned Blu-ray for this movie, despite the fact that you can just rent it on YouTube. Go rent it on YouTube. It's like $8 at any given time. It is the best movie of all time. You should watch this no matter what, Kingfisher. This is... If I have learned... Yes. This is what I'm saying. You don't have to be invested in anything related to cars to love this movie. This, if anything, this movie will make you start looking up cars, which is wild, because there's one car in the movie. Everyone else uses spaceships to race. Only JP uses a Trans Am to just style on the competition. I think what makes me so addicted to it is that it has a very simple plot, but it is so well executed, tightly paced, and well done that it feels like God wrote this movie. Redline may be the best animated film ever made, and I'm saying that while Akira is directly next to it. Well, I do have to go to bed for work. And that we may have left one or two out, but that is most, if not every, theatrically released animated movie I have seen myself. Let me see. I want to make sure I download the image. Let me go to the pause screen as I do some wrap up stuff. Y'all have anyone you'd like to raid? I know it's a late hour, but if you wanted company for any time. Any amount of time, let me hear it. Obviously, I want to make sure I have the right screen ready. Of course you may. Kingfisher. I'm just gonna download the tier list image. You let me hear who you want to raid. Got Shadow Mage. We got Giwi. Oh, Giwi is doing a tier list too. I'll make sure I download this. But I do want to hear Shadow Mages first. Oh, that's very good. Yes, absolutely. Listen, rating someone also doing a tier list would be fun, but that is absolutely more important. I'd be willing to see that around. I'm trying to download this because ain't no way. I mean, I might be able to screenshot. Give me a second. Let me make this bigger. It's gonna be. Uh-oh. Yeah, this is. Oh my goodness. Oh. Here we go. I hope y'all had a good time. I definitely had a good time. This was super cool. I didn't, get to delve into each movie individually, but that just means we can talk about them more later if I feel like it, as opposed to just repeating what we said on the channel. I smell so bad. I gotta be honest with y'all. It's pretty bad. Listen, you're valid for it. Sometimes. Sabian. Okay, let me see. Twitch. If you don't mind, Kingfisher, I'm gonna be going to bed right after this. So if y'all would give this Sabian my love, I'm gonna be trusting Kingfisher that they're pretty cool. I'm gonna assume it's spelled just like that. I'm just checking real quick. /raid. Lord. Upwards of 100 images on a tier list really slows down your computer, huh? Yep, that's it. Okay, let's do this raid. Because, I mean, heck, raising money for charity during Pride Month is super chill. So, give them my best. Apologize that I'm not able to make it myself. But yeah, thanks y'all for coming. We're gonna be back tomorrow with Doom, because I want to play Doom. So I'll see y'all then. Bye.